Bim, guess what? You won't believe this, but there's a thunderstorm going on out there, and yeah, it's been a lovely day today. It's been a lovely day today, but it's not anymore. It's pretty windy and blustery and lightning in it, although I've not seen any lightning yet. Anyway, it doesn't stop me doing what a week that was, and this week we're going to talk about lots of things, including witch hunts. There are witch hunts about both sides of the pond, apparently, allegedly, depending on how you want to look at it. We've also got dam busting, who did what to whom, when and where, and we've also got the tragic story of Prince Harry being in the news again. Yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's get things, as we say, started. We are starting on the good old first day of the week, which for me is Sunday. Hey up, Angela, welcome. Following the massive tragic train crash a few days earlier, where 288 people, minimum 288 people were killed on the Saturday, well, it was actually the Friday stroke Saturday, over 1,000 injured. The difficult job of getting the bodies of the dead back to the families began, and was really difficult because of the actual incident itself. It's horrific. You couldn't imagine anything like that. They actually had to resort to looking at photographs of the dead bodies. So not only are you looking for your loved one, but you're looking at possibly many other people who've also lost loved ones. Oh, there goes the thunder. Lost loved ones, and you're looking at the bodies of people you don't even know. Tragedy also in Bournemouth. Two young people got killed, a 15-year-old girl and a 17-year-old boy, Joe Abbess and Suna Khan, were the two people tragically killed at Bournemouth Pier. But still confusion reigns as to what actually happened. A man was arrested, as I said last week, and released on bail. Really bizarre incident, but obviously a tragic outcome as well. So hopefully we'll find out more about that. Anyway, that brings us rather smartly to Monday. And what happened on Monday? Well, there was signs of a military increase of manoeuvres in actual Ukraine. So rumours abounding that maybe the counter strike was about to start, but we didn't know whether it would or wouldn't. Meanwhile, the world's press all waited outside a court in London for Prince Harry to turn up for the first day of his libel trial against the Mirror Group of newspapers. He didn't turn up though. Judge was a little surprised at that. Rumours came again regarding the awful tragedy. I'm going to sneeze. I've still got hay fever even with this rain, which is belting on the window. Mum's in hospital at the minute, but not too bad hopefully. But yeah, the tragedy that went down the Bournemouth Pier. Oh, I'm trying not to sneeze and it's not working. Very much confusion as to what actually happened. People say now that there's possibly a riptide involved, but I don't understand how someone could be arrested for a riptide on manslaughter charges and then released. Anyway, the British government bought 2 more of these floating barges, basically floating hotels for the migrants to stay at, and allegedly one of them is coming to Liverpool. Which would be interesting. The Wigan Athletic, it just seems to go from one disaster to another. There were rumours that a Swiss bank was going to buy it, and then rumours that a 21-year-old millionaire was going to buy it, and people are not getting paid, and more points are getting deducted. Possibility that Wigan Athletic could completely disappear off the football map, or could disappear completely out of the league, which would be shocking for a team that won the FA Cup 10 years ago. But yeah, I just don't understand what is going on. Someone buys it a couple of years ago and makes all the right noises, does all the right things, but it's all gone back to poop again. Makes very little sense at all. But if you don't follow football, I don't really follow football, I'll be honest, then it won't make a lot of sense to you. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, but Soviet-controlled Ukraine, a dam bursts. This is the start of the dam breaking, and it absolutely monumentally falls apart, causing a huge amount of flooding. Both Russia and Ukraine say the others did it. It was them what done it, not me. But NATO thinks it was Russia and Putin. The main reason being that this dam would flood areas that the Ukrainians were going to use for their counter-offensive against the Russian invasion. But also, obviously, it disrupts, because it's a massive dam, millions and millions of people's lives, houses, homes, etc. The good news was Prince Harry, everyone's favourite prince, well, his favourite prince, give evidence in court, and he's the first active royal, although technically he's not an active royal because he's walked away from royal, but I see where they're coming from. In 120 years to do that, but they didn't say who the other one was. I can only assume it was Prince Albert, about something or other in it. Just see if this is working. Yeah, we're okay. Hi TV, you're on as well, that'll be good. But yeah, he says he's not going to do anything, they're going to go silent and all that kind of stuff, and then he just spouts it all off again while he's in court. Makes little sense. Meanwhile, in the exciting world of golf, the Live Golf and PGA Golf and I think Saudi Arabia Golf have all decided now to be friends and join together and become one big company, run, bizarrely, by the people at Live Golf, who are the enemy. So I don't know what's happened there, unless because they've got millions and billions and trillions of dollars, whether they've just paid off the people at the PGA just to roll over. But it does seem that the people who cashed in the hundreds of millions of dollars to play for the Live are well and truly quids in now, because the PGA Tour and everything has joined forces. So the people who remain loyal to the PGA didn't get the hundreds of millions of dollars, but now have to play with the people who did. So I can still imagine it's going to cause tension in the changing rooms. If they have changing rooms in golf, I don't know. Taliban. We've always been slagging off the Taliban in Afghanistan, what they're doing, particularly for human rights and women. However, they are clamping down massively on poppy growing, and maybe, well, more so, the opium that comes from the poppies. If you don't know how to make opium, you've got the bud there. Once the flower has been fertilised, it turns into that little, like a ball thing, like about the size of a golf ball. And then if you scratch it with a knife, the sap comes out. You take the sap off, you dry the sap, and that is opium. And a lot of people in Afghanistan have been growing poppies because it's the only way they can feed their families. But the Taliban are going around and destroying all the poppy farms, and apparently the poppy production and the opium production in Afghanistan has dropped by over 75% since the Taliban took over. So in a way, a success story. Sadly, there are many other countries that are doing it, so all it does is move the market somewhere else. But who knew the Taliban were good for something? Meanwhile, if you're a very active person in a certain activity that humans do for pleasure, you may more likely now get an STI than what you would have done in the last 20 years, certainly 10 years anyway. It generally seems that all the STIs, or STDs when I was a kid, are on the up, apart from the old warts, which is on the way down. But yeah, if you're doing the dirty stuff, the fun stuff, if you want to call it that, then make sure you use a condom. There's your advice from me, and heed it. because we all know I talk sense, except when I don't talk, which is when I don't say anything and I don't make sense or no sense whatsoever. Anyway, that brings us to Wednesday. 29,000 towns and villages are overwhelmed by the flood water from the dam burst in Ukraine. Already places that have been devastated by the war are now being devastated by the flood. And whoever's done it, to me, that is a war crime to destroy a dam. Although, yes, I know we did it in World War II to stop the Nazis. Dam busters, we even celebrated it. Not me personally, but it was celebrated the 80th anniversary in the last few weeks. So yeah, a bit hypocritical, I suppose. But the dams then were big, but they're nowhere near as big as this one. Apparently, the lake is the reservoir is one of the largest man-made bodies of water in the world, and it's all flooded out. So obviously all that water's got to go somewhere, and it's gone through people's towns, villages and cities. And while people are being rescued from their flooded flats, Russia is continuing to fire missiles and shells into this area, plus any landmines that have been laid will have been moved by the severity of the water coming through. A few of them will have gone off, no doubt, because of the weight of the water, but a lot of them will have been moved. So when you think you know where the minefield is, it could be 3 miles down the road, a rogue mine. So I can imagine that's going to be a problem for many, many years to come. Just horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Rishi went to Washington to have a chat with President Biden. He didn't say much about who destroyed the dam, but did say that he thought it fitted the Russian tactics. Prince Harry was back in court again for another day, and he was saying how upset he was about everything that's going on. Obviously, the artist wasn't a big fan of Prince Harry, as we can see from the picture there. Obviously, if you listen to this on the podcast, you can't see, but it is worth going for court artist Prince Harry, and just looking at the picture, it's shockingly bad, and therefore brilliant. But yeah, he was there saying that he was doing it for his family and his wife, and protect them, and blah 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 blah. And it's basically, shut up, Harry. Mike Pence announces that he is going to be running for president in 2024 and going up against go away, Harry. Yeah, he keeps coming back though, doesn't he, Angela? That's the problem. Going up against Donald Trump for the nomination to go up against whomever the opposition come up with, which at the moment it's just Biden. But if he gets in again, well, we did say when he got in first time that he wouldn't make it a year in, and he's done well. We're nearly at the end of his complete election, presidency. He's nearly done the whole thing. So yeah, we will wait and see if Pence does well. To be fair, I don't really like Mike Pence, but what little I know about him, I think he'd make a better job than either of the other two. But anyway, there's smelly stuff about to hit the spinny thing for Donald Trump in the near future. Thursday, Biden has a formal meeting with Rishi Sunak, Prime Minister of the UK, in a co-op, as you can see from the sign behind. They held it in a cooperative store. Didn't know there was one in America, but there you go. You learn something new every day. Very subtle marketing as well. And they agreed on some deals, but no one really knows what the deals are. Tragedy struck in Salford, which is near Manchester in the northwest of Great Britain, when a 15-year-old boy was killed when he rode at speed a scooter into a parked up ambulance. The ambulance apparently wasn't moving at the time, although looking at that picture there and seeing the damage to the windscreen, looks like the ambulance was moving, because looks like the child unfortunately has hit the windscreen of the ambulance, and the e-bike which was on, it wasn't a scooter, it was an e-bike, is on the other side of the road. Loads of questions about this. One of them is, Was it the child's own e-bike? Did they have safety equipment on? Have they been trained in using it? B, rumours are, and the police haven't denied, that the police were following the e-bike, but they're saying they weren't chasing it. There was no sirens, there was no speeding, it was just observation. The e-bike went through a gap that the ambulance, that the police van car couldn't get through, and that's when it hit the aforementioned ambulance. But sadly, another life lost. You can't, if you own an e-scooter or an e-bike, certainly an e-scooter, I'm not sure about e-bikes, but an e-scooter, you cannot ride them on public roads or public footpaths. You can only ride them on private land. But obviously no one does that. They'll ride them on the roads and everything. And whenever you see them on the roads, they've got no helmets, no shin pads, knee pads, elbow pads, gloves, nothing like, no protection whatsoever, and they're whizzing up and down the roads without a care in the world. And when you go into cities, you can actually hire them by just popping your card onto them and getting on, and off you go. I've said many times that electric isn't the way forward, and this is a different kind of issue, but still, I don't understand the double standards of it, and I have written about it in the paper and mentioned it before as well. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, Zelensky went to the flooded areas, of which there are many. We're talking hundreds of miles of damage. Minimal loss of life considering what's happened, but maximum amount of suffering that is going on with the people who've lost their what's it called? Homes and houses and works and schools and everything else. So yeah, it's just horrendous. I mean, you just think it can't get any worse for Ukraine, and it does. Meanwhile, in, I think it was France, a horrific sight of a man described bizarrely as a Christian Syrian. Why we needed to know that, I have no idea. Going around with a knife in a playground. He gets approached and ends up stabbing 4 children, including one 3-year-old British child who was there in the playground with her parents, but a 1-year-old as well. I mean, what goes through people's minds to do something like that is beyond me. And they've caught him, and hopefully he will get the wrath of the law on him, because I mean, it's just so disturbing that people can do this. And, you know, I don't understand the mindset, I really don't. Meanwhile, in Canada, there are massive wildfires going on. They're going through forests, they're going through grasslands and everything. Now, bear in mind, Canada, in the scheme of things, is a lot higher up than America. It's a lot nearer the North Pole. And these fires are rampant, and we've only just hit summer. So what's it going to be like in the next few months for the people of America, and possibly around here as well? The smoke's even drifted to New York, causing a lot of discomfort for the people of New York. Many people being told to stay indoors, particularly if you suffer from asthma or other breathing difficulties. Do not do exercise, do not go jogging, just stay indoors. They're hoping that the wind will change and the air will clear as quick as it's fogged up. But yeah, the issue you have though is when you've got fires that are that big, and we keep going on about global warming, what's happened there, that fire now is probably getting to the size of Britain, because Canada is huge. England, not Britain, England, certainly is the size of Wales. And if that is happening and that's burning, all that carbon is going up into the atmosphere, which is causing possibly more global warming than what we could cause in the whole of the UK for a whole year. It kind of feeds itself, which then makes it possibly warmer, which then makes the possibility of more and more. Are you alright, Silence? Psst, 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 psst. Silence. Are you okay? Okay, just checking. But yeah, it's just a bizarre thing. It really is. But we'll have to wait and see as to what happens in the long term. Although, be fair, the rate we're going, it might be the short term that we find out what's going on. We often joke that we'll be around for that, and now we're thinking, well, hang on a minute, I think we could be. Anyway, Friday was not a good day. For two people anyway. Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, has resigned. He's already resigned as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, already resigned as the leader of the Conservative Party, which is why we've got Rishi Sunak now. But he's also now resigned as a member of the Tory MPs. He's basically calling a by-election, which is when a sitting MP leaves, be it through controversy, retirement, illness, death, or just changes the party that they're in. We have another little election. So Boris has decided that he's no longer going to be an MP, and this is all because he's had an early copy of the report about whether he did or did not lie to Parliament about what the Partygate parties that went on during lockdown. It's quite complicated. Anyway, we've not seen this report yet, but it's enough for Boris to say that it's a witch hunt, it's a kangaroo court. The woman who's organising it, it now turns out, has become a senior member of the backroom team for Sir Keir Starmer in the Labour Party. And I'll be honest with you, when you see it like that, it all does stink a bit. And if it is that case, and that's what they've done, then the Labour Party are as guilty as anyone else of causing people to lose their jobs, etc. Why resign, Boris, if you didn't do anything wrong? I think he's just fed up with the whole thing, I'll be honest with you. Oh, hang on, we might have a... Although we won't have a thing, because he's playing on his Funko tonight, so we won't have a thing from him. No, we haven't. It's possibly YouTube telling me that I'm live on... No, it's not. What was that then? That's not YouTube telling me I'm live. Then what was it? Is it on that? Let's have a look on that. Dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum. No, it's not on that one either. Is it on... that one? No. Is it on... I've got so much social media now, it's unbelievable. For an old fart like me, it's quite confusing. Oh, we've got 2 comments. Love the resilience. Good luck to games and more. Thank you, Funky Figures. Let's just keep going. Energizer Bunny, Terminator I've been described as recently. But no, I think Boris has resigned because he probably thinks it's better for his long-term interests to resign. If you remember, he pretty much resigned from being the Mayor of London over some controversy or other. I mean, to be fair, most of the time he was just hanging around. He had a safety helmet on and he had 2 little Union Jack flags he was waving. Yeah, I think he's trying to cover his back, so get out of it, wait for the report to come out, let it all die down, see how Rishi does, and then come back in a year or 2. Having said that, in the meantime, he'll probably make millions, like Cameron and co, doing talks here, there and everywhere. And also like the war criminal does, the other former Prime Minister who's a war criminal. He's made millions, if not billions of pounds going around the world chatting his crap to people. The last Labour leader, obviously. Meanwhile, in America, there's a witch hunt going on, says Donald Trump. These two are like 2 peas in a pod, aren't they? Donald Trump has been indicted with sorry, I think these are old pictures, but he's been indicted with the storing of the documents. Now, at Mar-a-Lago. Now, when we saw the pictures of Mar-a-Lago, we saw like a really crap carpet with a few bits of paper on it, and we thought, well, you know, a few bits of paper. You know, I often bring stuff home and forget to take it back to work again, but it's not important, it's just a piece of paper. Oh, no. We've now seen pictures of boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff piled up everywhere. including in an disused shower, on a stage in his house. Who has a stage in the house? I mean, come on. Just everywhere. And even showing people and even telling people, allegedly, that I shouldn't be showing you this, but have a look at this. So yeah, he could get 100 years if he's found guilty, which is ironic, really, considering he's nearly 80. That I don't think he'd last 100 years, but we can live in hope. Sorry, too soon. Anyway, that was it for Friday. Get ramble, get your cloth. We're now on Saturday, which is actually today. And I'll be honest, Saturday is usually a bit slow on the news, and this week, absolutely no exception. Rishi has been told that he really needs to pull the party together. He's been blamed for kicking off all this Get Boris Out thing by resigning as the Chancellor of the Exchequer, forcing the hand of Boris to resign, and many other people as well. Liverpool Echo? Got Liverpool Echo. What's going on at Liverpool Echo? I don't know. Liverpool Echo. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, the barge is going to. I was on about the barges earlier. It's going to the docks in Liverpool. So people are, needless to say, very upset about that in Liverpool. Anyway, yeah, Rishi, who is the best Prime Minister we've had for a while, but let's say it's a very low bar, has really got to get people thinking that he's actually a good guy and an honest guy at the moment. Beginning to think he's as devious and corrupt as the rest of them. So yeah, got to prove us wrong. Meanwhile, President Zelensky has said that the counter-offensive has started, whilst President Trudeau from Canada was visiting Ukraine and was in Kyiv. Zelensky gave the announcement that things are moving forward, and they are definitely starting the counter-offensive with all these weapons and tanks and things that the West have very politely supplied. Hello, Peter F. Good evening to you too, Peter F. I don't know whether he's Peter F. I'm trying to think who Peter F is. I kind of got a gem of an idea, but I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to get excited. Oh, it's not happening. Oh, it's not happening. Apparently. I didn't read the thing because I'm doing this at the same time, but apparently it's not happening. Go away, I don't want to read you. It's not going to happen according to reports. Ah, well, they always say that until it turns up, don't they? They'll probably park it on the end of the pier at Southport or something daft like that. Anyway, that is it for the news, apart from, of course, what's going on in America? We're off to America. What's been going on in America? Sadly, more gun crime in America. Yeah, it just goes on and on and on, I'm afraid. Anyway, news from America. Whoa. You follow Wigan Watch. A double thumbs up, because you've had two this week. Russian missile attack on Dnipro, Ukraine kills a 2-year-old girl and injures 22. Now I'm not sure if this is, because I mentioned it last week, the young girl who was trying to get into a bomb shelter, but for some reason the door didn't open automatically. But yeah, horrendous to think that 2-year-old girl's been killed. Error in signalling system led to the train crash that killed 275 people in India. This was reported last week. The derailment in eastern India that killed 275 people and injured hundreds was caused by an error in the electronic signalling system that led a train to wrongly change track and crash into a freight train. Now, you can't change tracks in a train, so it's more the... It's not the signalling that was error. It was the track things that that do that that was error. But either way, absolutely horrendous. And they need to look into the safety of the trains in well, all over the world. Let's be honest. Footage shows Chicago group with machine guns blast away and kill a 14-year-old. Chilling video captures the moments a group of criminals armed with makeshift machine guns opened fire on a crowd in Chicago, killing a 14-year-old boy and wounding 3 other people. The 4 armed suspects, including at least one possibly 16-year-old, are seen sneaking across an empty lot before jumping out from behind a building and firing off multiple rounds down the street. Again, kids with machine guns, with guns. Video captures historic mass church go up in flames and the spire tumbles, very reminiscent of what went on in Notre Dame a few years ago. Talking of which, building is going really well there. They said, oh, we'll have it built and up and running in 5 years, and everyone was like, yeah, right. Well, they're doing really well. But here, dramatic video captures flames destroying a historic Massachusetts church, including its iconic steeple as it came crashing down. After the house of worship was struck by lightning. So it was a lightning strike, which we've just had here. It's still very windy out there, but it's not lightning. Man fined after trying to help bison calf at Yellowstone that was later euthanized. A man spotted trying to help a newborn bison in Yellowstone National Park pleaded guilty in a federal court after authorities said they had to euthanize the animal because its herd rejected it. Clifford Walters faced 1 count of feeding, touching, teasing, frightening, or intentionally disturbing wildlife and will have to pay a $500 fine and a series of other fees. Yeah, if you see something suffering an animal, then there's loads of videos of people helping them. But apparently, you don't have to do it. From Wigan, but lived in Qatar for the last 13 years. Great to watch your videos, but upset to see how the council again ripping the heart out of the town again like they did in the mid-80s. Yeah, exactly. That's some of my argument there, Peter, is the fact that they have on the boards protecting our heritage or something like that. And you're like, on the other side of this board is a demolition of pretty much the entire town centre. So that's not protecting anything. But the irony is that what you're knocking down was built after you knocked down the old Victorian Market Hall, the old arcade with the longest bar in the world or something. I don't know. I never saw it. I only come to Wigan in the 90s. I used to live in Qatar, and then I came to... No, I don't. And then the church, was it the Bull Pub or something like that? All gone for the galleries, and now the galleries is gone. It's just madness. But yeah, you see a lot of videos of animals being saved and protected and classed as hero, and this guy's got a $500 fine. And to be fair, I don't think he did it out of malice. I think he was doing it trying to be helpful. DJ Paul Oakenfold accused of in front of assistant in new suit. Now, I'm not one to, pour anything over a claim like that, but that's not something you do in a new suit. Migrants evacuated from the repurposed New York City jail after plumbing exploded. Hundreds of migrants who had just moved into the converted former Manhattan prison were temporarily evacuated after the plumbing there exploded. Sometime during the afternoon, the plumbing issue was discovered at the shuttered Lincoln Correctional Facility in Harlem, which had just opened its doors to migrants. Anyway, they fixed it and they're all back in again now. You'll be pleased to hear. We've not had any lightning that I've seen. It's just very windy. I've got the curtains open. It's very windy and wet. And now the back door open and it's flooded a bit into the kitchen, but it'll dry. It's warm. Chinese warship comes within 150 yards of US destroy in latest act of aggression near Taiwan. A Chinese warship reportedly came within 150 yards of hitting the USS Chung Hoon on Saturday while the US destroyer was conducting joint exercises with Canada in the Taiwan Strait. The incident occurred as US-Chinese tensions remain high in the South China Sea. The Chinese ship sped up and cut in front of the USS Chung Hoon's bow, warning the US ship there would be trouble. Have they got the money for the new market hall yet? I don't know. You said the other funds aren't in place. As far as I'm aware, no, they haven't, Peter. And that's another worry, which is why I keep saying we need to cut costs and build less to make sure the money we've got, if we've got any money, means we don't just end up with wasteland, because that's what I'm worried about, end up with a wasteland. What they need to do is get the market done, open, and then we'll worry about the rest of it at a later date. Where's that gone? Where's that gone? Go away. There we go. Police investigate if deaths of 6 women in Portland are connected and a serial killer is on the loose, which is a bit disturbing. Authorities investigated the mysterious deaths of 6 women whose remains were found in and around Portland over the past 6 months are connected and if a serial killer is on the loose. The bodies of the half-dozen women were found within 100 miles of each other on the sides of roads, in the woods or secluded rural areas. It sounds like it could well be, tragically, or a copycat, which is even more tragic. Man 35 shot in the butt at New York City restaurant. A man was shot in the buttocks at a Bangladesh restaurant in Queens. The 35-year-old was at a restaurant in Dutch Kills. Dutch Kills? Wow, the place is called Dutch Kills. Around 3:30 when he was shot in the butt by a gunman wearing a red hoodie. Nobody else was injured, and the police say they weren't sure if the man was the intended target or what the motive was. Yeah, it's don't go out for a meal don't go to New York. It's probably easier. Harry and Meghan will live to regret kids not having a relationship with royals, says Graydon Carter. Well, it's got to be true then, isn't it? Royal regrets they'll have few. Oh, royal regrets, I'll have a few. But then again, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will live to regret having no relatives for their children, Archie and Lilibet. Former Vanity Fair editor Graydon Carter told the Telegraph that they will come back to haunt them at a certain point. He said they have no cousins, that they are or uncles or aunts, and they don't get it their way. Thank you. I like to burst into song. Shut up, Harry, but nip Meghan. Very good. Transgender inmate to be transferred to women's facility gets a $495,000 settlement and surgery after a lawsuit. A Minnesota transgender inmate is being moved to a woman's prison and will receive vaginoplasty as well as $495,000 to settle a discrimination lawsuit against the state. The Department of Corrections, Christina Lusk, 57, will be transferred to the women's facility in Shakopee next week, which will mark the first time a Minnesota inmate is moved to a different prison based on gender identity. Now, we had this in Scotland, and yep, if you want to be trans, whatever, fine. But if you commit a crime, and the crime is related to... Oh, no worries, Peter, you have a good night's sleep. What time is it there? It must be late. And there's more Wigan Watch coming. I filmed a little bit today. I'll give a shout to Qatar next time I remember. So don't hold your breath. I've got a memory like her. Oh, got someone new in, Peter. Hello, Peter. How are you? You say, yeah, I've got a memory like a sieve. Anyway, as I was saying, transgender, you can be what you want, but you know, if you commit a crime, then you've got to be punished in the gender that you were at the time. 22:41. Oh, it's not too bad then. It's not too bad. You're only 2 hours ahead of us. Anyway, have a pleasant evening, pleasant sleep, and speak to you again soon. A pilot of a doomed ghost plane was seen slumped over before the crash. The pilot who flew the ghost plane that crashed in Virginia on Sunday was seen slumped over his seat by military jets that flew at supersonic speeds to catch up with the doomed flight. Where are we? The Department of Defense deployed 6 F-16 fighter jets out of Joint Base Andrews to race towards the private Cessna after it veered into restricted space around DC, and one of the pilots got close enough to the errant aircraft to peer in and see that the pilot of the aircraft was unresponsive over the controls. Sadly, the airplane came down and everyone on board, I know it's 2 people or whatever, but were killed. Thankfully, it didn't land anywhere where there was people on the ground, because that would have been even more horrific. A retired New York City handyman lands record $476 million Mega Millions jackpot. A retired Manhattan handyman can put its toolbox away after landing a record $476 million in the Mega Millions jackpot. Johnny Taylor, 71, cashed in his lucky ticket. $476 million. So that's about 3 million quid, isn't it? But look how happy he is. Just look how happy he is. He's very, very happy. And I like it when people are happy. And when they show their emotion as well, it's beautiful. Moment, a 10-year-old Michigan boy led cops on a high-speed chase after stealing an SUV to visit his mum. Oh, sweet. Michigan cops discovered that busting an auto thief was just child's play after a 10-year-old boy led them on a high-speed chase while driving a stolen SUV. The incident took place last month when police dispatchers in Michigan got a call from General Motors, the vehicle emergency service. They reported that the 2017 Buick Encore had been stolen, and when the cops found it, it was being driven by a 10-year-old who wanted to see his mum, who was away. It's quite sad, really. US is falling behind other top nations in life expectancy, as life expectancy nosedives. Now, this is happening all over the place. I mean, vaping. There was a time when Americans enjoyed a longer life expectancy than people in other countries, but that was in the 1930s, and new research finds that since the 1950s, US life expectancy has fallen far behind many other countries. In fact, citizens of Alabama, Lebanon, Chechnya and Cuba, Albania, Lebanon, Chechnya and Cuba can now expect to live longer and healthier lives than the average American. But that's because they eat crap. They eat burgers, everything's got cheese on it, they have massive portions of everything, they don't do exercise, they drive everywhere, they don't walk around. So obviously life expectancy is going to go down, he says. Not joking. California teen linked to 3 murders gets just 7 years. Sheriff blames woke. A California teen linked to 3 murder cases, including the brutal road rage slaying of a newlywed, was sentenced to just 7 years in prison after a radically woke DA declined to try him as an adult. The Alameda County Sheriff's Office ripped local prosecutor Pamela Price for rejecting their call to slap Sergio Morales Jaquez, now 18, with a stiffer penalty. Yeah, it does seem ridiculous. If you murder one person and you're under the age of 16, then that's very bad indeed, obviously. But if you've done 3, then there's an issue there. And 7 years means he'll come back, he's 25, peak of his physical fitness, and if he hasn't learnt his lessons, more people will die. America, sort your bloody justice system out. The Federal Aviation Authority give an A-OK to turn John F. Kennedy hangar into a migrant shelter. See, we complain about where we're putting the migrants over here in the UK. Okay, they're different migrants to different places, but the issue is the same. In America now, they're on about putting them in an airport hangar. The Federal Aviation Administration has signed off on Port Authority plans to open an emergency shelter for arriving migrants in an old postal warehouse at John F. Kennedy International Airport. The facility was identified by local and state officials scouring the Big Apple and its suburbs for new places to house the recent arrivals from the southern border a year into the crisis, which has seen more than 70,000 people arrive from South America into the 5 boroughs. So yeah, as I've said before, if people come to this country and they are chucking away their documents into the channel, then they obviously know they've got not a cat and mouse chance of actually staying here legally. That what do? We put them up in a hotel? No, what we do is we send them straight back where they came from. You've got no papers, we don't know who you are, so get back. And America should do the same thing. If people get over there without papers, then you just chuck them back over the border again. Have a massive slide or something that you just stick them on and they slide back and bounce over the border. It's just insane that we are pandering to people who have no right to be here and forking out millions and millions and millions of pounds stroke dollars to look after these people who, most of whom have not left anywhere that's even remotely dangerous for them. They're only doing it because they think they can have a better life in America or the United Kingdom. And I think most people in the United Kingdom and America wouldn't say that their lives are great. So it's very misguided as well. Anyway, Wagner Group catches Russian officer accused of firing on mercenaries in Bakhmut. Russia's Wagner mercenary group released a video showing what it claimed to be a captured high-ranking Russian officer who's been accused of firing on the private army's vehicle during the battle for Bakhmut. In the footage, the captive, identified as Lieutenant Colonel Roman Vietnevin, commander of the Russian Ground Forces 72nd Independent Motorized Rifle Brigade, is seen looking very pensive and apologising profusely. But yeah, you don't. They're on the same side. I mean, I don't agree with the side, but they're on the same. You don't shoot your own people. A Yellowstone tourist puts baby elk in car and drive it to police station. A Yellowstone National Park rangers are once again warning the public not to approach wildlife after being forced to investigate an incident where someone brought a baby elk to a local police station. Park officials say that during the Memorial Day weekend, visitors placed an elf calf in their car while driving on the US highway and brought the newborn to the West Yellowstone, Montana Police Department. Unsure whether it's the same one or a different one from our earlier story, but either way, leave the animals alone unless they're in obvious distress. Ukraine hacks Russian TV with video trolling Moscow over counter-offensive. Now, if you haven't seen this video, I've only seen a clip of it, but basically it's lots and lots and lots of Ukrainian soldiers, troops and whatever, and they're going like that, basically saying, "We're coming to get you." Shh. And it's really, really creepy, but really good as well. Ukrainian hackers breached Russian TV channels in occupied Crimea on Sunday, broadcasting a slickly produced video hinting at the impending start of Kyiv's counter-offensive. Several Ukrainian news outlets reported that broadcasts of the Russian cable channels Rossiya and Friday were interrupted with a recording from Ukraine's Ministry of Defense showing Kyiv's heavily armed troops staring into the camera and putting one finger over their lips. I mean, it's quite threatening, but my God, I wish them well. I really do. Is that the elk? Where's the elk gone? Where's the elk gone? I've lost my elk. Oh, there he is. There we go. I always use the elk. South Carolina children's choir stopped by Capitol Police while singing the national anthem. Video footage shows a South Carolina-based children's choir being stopped by a Capitol Police officer from singing the national anthem in the US Capitol. I mean, that's insane. You know how loyal stupid Americans are to their flag and their country. So when a load of little kids want to sing the national anthem at the Capitol, which is like our Houses of Parliament, to show their misplaced respect for their country and their leaders and everything, and their politicians, they're stopped by the police. Or maybe the police agree with me, and they're like, "Nope, you kids have got it all wrong. You're not respected by these people, and you should not respect them." Portland police have no reason to believe deaths of 6 women are connected to a possible serial killer, which is frightening. The unsolved deaths of 6 women whose remains were found in and around Portland over the past 6 months are not believed to be connected, nor the work of a serial killer as suggested on social media. 6 women being murdered and their bodies dumped in similar places are not deemed to be from a serial killer. I mean, you know, it might be one of them things where they say, yeah, but none of the murders were the same. You know, one poor woman was stabbed, one poor woman was shot, one poor woman was strangled or whatever. But it doesn't mean it's not the same person. They could be doing that because the police are that stupid not to link them all together. I mean, I think at least tentatively you should link them all together. try, if you've got enough manpower, do them all individually, but keep all the people looking at the individual murders in communication with everyone and have all the information in one place. So if someone comes along with half a brain cell, they might be able to put a common link into all these as to, you know, what is going on. But it just seems bizarre to have 6 murders of 6 women whose bodies are dumped in similar places within 100 miles of each other, not to be linked. It's just mad, and God hopes that no one else suffers the same fate because of police ineptitude, alleged. Target refuses to sell Pride-themed onesies to a gay couple. Now, Target is one of the big supermarkets in America. It's a bit like Woolworths in Australia, Asda, Sainsbury's, Tesco in the United Kingdom, and Walmart in America as well. A gay couple said they were banned from buying a Pride-themed onesie at a Florida Target for their infant son because employees said the outfit should have been pulled from the shelves. The kerfuffle, who knew the Americans knew the word kerfuffle? But anyway, they do. Came 2 weeks after the retail giant announced it would pull some LGBTQ friendly kids clothing from its stores after customer backlash, a decision that has drawn the ire of some 200 advocacy groups. Michael Hoflanker and Michael Rodell went to the Target in Lane Park, Florida on Saturday to buy the onesie for their son, and they were told that the people worked at the supermarket didn't agree with them, so therefore they weren't going to sell it to a baby. And I can't agree that, to a degree, that babies and toddlers shouldn't be dressed up saying, you know, I love, no, I am gay or I am trans or whatever. Yeah, definitely not. But I can't see any reason why they can't get dressed up in rainbows and things like that. It all seems a little bit pathetic, really. It's not like they're trying to change the gender of their child or anything daft. Anyway, Prince Harry moans about hurtful Chelsea Davy breakup headline on the witness stand, and Prince Harry whined about. This is American press, by the way. This is the American press using the words moans and then whined about hurtful headline that seemingly celebrated his breakup with Chesley Davy as he continued his second day of testimony on his ongoing lawsuit with the Daily Mirror on Wednesday. During his second day of questioning, the Duke of Sussex took issue with a November 2007 headline, which, if I remember rightly, said, what was it? Hip hooray, Harry's single today or something. I can't remember. Or hooray Harry. Oh, hooray Harry dumped. Because hooray Henry. Kind of thing. Anyway, it's all stupid. 7 shot outside high school graduation in Richmond, Virginia. 7 people were shot when bullets flew outside a high school graduation ceremony in Richmond, Virginia, according to officials and local reports. 2 suspects were taken into custody following the shooting across from Virginia Commonwealth University. I mean, for God's sake, why can't you see what the rest of the world sees, America? That you ain't got control on your children. They've got guns. They're just going around shooting people. Rather than having a fist fight or even stabbing, they are murdering each other. A father and 18-year-old son ID'd as victims of mass shooting at Virginia school graduation. 2 slain victims of Tuesday's mass shooting at the Virginia High School graduation ceremony have been identified as an 18-year-old senior and his father, who was killed just minutes after watching his son graduate. I mean, it's just horrible. It's horrible. Lives being snuffed out every day, and your government just lets it happen because they're scared of the NRA. It's just awful. CDC warns of deadly bacteria with 50% fatality rates that has been declared endemic to the US Gulf Coast. A deadly bacteria with roughly 50% fatality rate worldwide has made its way to the US Gulf Coast, coast where it has been declared an endemic. Now, endemic is like one down from a pandemic. From the from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC has confirmed 3 cases of the infection from the bacteria, which can cause potentially lethal melioidosis if not treated. So it's worldwide where it's 50% fatalities, but that's because a lot of these people who catch it haven't got the ability to get the medical care that they need quickly enough. But it's not a COVID or anything like that, but it's certainly something to be aware of, I think it's fair to say. State lawmakers pass a ban that AI-generated revenge porn in its final week of legislative session. Many bills will fall short of the legislative finish this line this year, but approving a ban on AI-generated revenge porn will not be among them. The proposed crackdown on fictitious intimate images comes as technology makes it become increasingly easy to add someone's face to the body of someone else in order to publicly humiliate them. This can have a lifelong impact on someone because it's on the web, and once the picture's on the web, even if you delete it, it's on the web anyway, it's there forever. And it does seem like a good idea, but surely all revenge porn should be banned, not just AI revenge porn. I mean, you know, if you're stupid enough to let people film you intimately interacting with them, and then you fall out with them, they should not have the right to be able to put that up anywhere. I know that they don't in the UK, they don't in many countries, but to concentrate just on AI, it seems weird. Plus, if someone decided to put my face on AI porn, I would imagine that the body that it would be on would be a lot better than my body, so I'd be quite happy about that, really. What we know about the smoke clogging the skies over New York City. The New York City skyline is under siege by wildfire smoke that has transformed the vibrant metropolis into a smog-filled island. The ominous orange haze first crept in all 5 boroughs on Tuesday and has settled, dipping the air quality to the worst of any city in the world. The poor quality triggered a health advisory for residents to remain indoors and limit any outdoor activities that are not absolutely essential. But remember, folks, according to a lot of people in America, global warming doesn't exist. Photos capture New York City's historic day consumed by wildfire smoke. The sun rising over Manhattan as New York City is covered in smoke from Canadian wildfires. And the City Hall has urged New Yorkers with heart or breathing issues to limit outdoor activities. It doesn't stop there, because obviously this is major now because it's in New York. We'll come back to it in a bit though. Meanwhile, Hawaii's Kailua volcano erupts. The Kailua volcano on Hawaii's Big Island began erupting on Wednesday morning, prompting warnings as experts continue to monitor the site. The eruption was first noticed around 4:45 a.m. local time, shortly after an eruption watch which was issued by the US Geological Survey. Live footage of the volcano's Halima-Umu crater on Wednesday afternoon shows smoke rising from the site, white bright orange lava bubbles underneath. The alert level for the Kailua was raised from to red from warning. But yeah, I mean, it's the Ring of Fire, isn't it? Hawaii's on, even though it's the middle of nowhere. But the reason it's in the middle of nowhere is because it's volcanic, and the whole island and everything has come up from the ocean due to volcanic activity. Air quality, New York City, worst since the 1980s, and it's even worse than after the 9/11 incidents. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't remember New York City air quality being bad in the 1980s. I'll be honest. I mean, I wasn't in New York, never been to New York. I was still at school in 1980. But it just seems a bit weird that they're using that as an example. I would have possibly gone back to the Industrial Revolution times and maybe said, you know, it's worse than it was then. Teen's body found in car 4 days after it was towed away from a crash site. I mean, talk about horrendous. The body of a Wisconsin teenager was discovered inside the wreckage of a vehicle this week, 4 days after the car had been towed away from the site of a grisly accident. James Stoke, 17, of Milwaukee, was found dead on the floor of the back seat of a damaged white Kia at the city toll lot on Monday morning. The vehicle, which was determined to have been stolen, arrived at the lot on the night of the crash, which was 4 days earlier, and they didn't search it and find the body. I mean, I appreciate that, you know, we all lose stuff underneath the back seats and on the floor at the back of the car and everything, but this is a guy's body. I mean, surely to God, someone must have had the responsibility of checking. I mean, he could have been alive when they towed the car away. Unconscious, but alive, you don't know. And he's passed away in the back seat because someone couldn't be arsed to check there was no one in the car. Oh. UK school bans use of sir or miss in a fight against cultural misogyny. Inspired by Sage Taylor Swift. Now, Sage is a word I'm not familiar with. I get woke and all that kind of stuff and Karens and everything, but anyway, Sage, new one. A leading UK school has banned pupils from addressing staff as sir or miss, calling it a battle against cultural misogyny, inspired by the principal's Sage Taylor Swift. Harris Westminster Sixth Form Executive Principal James Hanscom introduced the policy in assembly at his London school, saying it was part of a wider reset, and it could be left for old men to fix the problems of society. No, it's up to pricks like you to do it instead. Sorry, it just makes me angry. I don't normally use such foul language, but that's angered me. I'm alright now. Oh, we've already done that one, haven't we? I do apologise. Where are we up to? That one. Oops. Pentagon and White House deny reports that China plans to build a spy station in Cuba. Now, I think I was alive at the Cuban Missile Crisis. Or I wasn't. I was born not long after the Cuban Missile Crisis. But the Pentagon and the White House on Thursday denied reports that China is planning to build a listening post in Cuba that would allow the communist power to eavesdrop on electronic communications across this southeastern US. Well, here's the thing. Would China tell America that that's what they're going to do? No. Do China need to really do that anyway with the technology that we've got these days? No. I mean, listening posts are so 1970s, aren't they? Or 1980s. When you watch these abandoned engineering TV programs, a lot of the places that are abandoned are listening posts. A famous one in the south of England, where it's basically just a massive concrete wall that's kind of angled like that. So it kind of goes like that, massive concrete wall. And there's a little thing in the middle of it, and there was a guy who sat there and listened, and it was pointed at the sea, and he was listening if he could hear aeroplanes coming over from Germany. And that was the first kind of listening post. Then obviously we got onto radio signals and all that kind of things, and technology's got on. But now with the internet, you could be anywhere in the world and listen to what's going on in America, so the whole thing seems pointless. But if they are going to build it, then China are not going to say, oh yeah, we're going to build that, yeah we are, yeah, because that's what we do, isn't it, yeah. Why flights are experiencing 55% rise in clean air turbulence over the last 40 years. Over the past 40 years, sorry. Keep those seatbelts fastened, flyers. Flights have become increasingly bumpy over the past 4 decades, and researchers say intensifying turbulence is due to global warming, according to a new study. A type of flight turbulence known as clean air turbulence has increased 55% from 1979 to 2020 and is expected to become even more frequent as climate change worsens. I've only experienced turbulence once, and it wasn't massive, but it was a bit of a shock to the system because you're in an aeroplane and all of a sudden it's just going, what the hell's that? And then it was done, that was it. And it was turbulence. And you're like, oh, it's not good. But the good news is that I don't fly, so it doesn't bother me particularly. But if you do fly, then be wary, keep your seatbelt on, and don't have any hot drinks, because you could burn your bits if you spill it. Diver finds HMS Triumph submarine 81 years after it went missing during World War II. After more than 25 years of searching, a veteran diver specialising in finding sunken ships has uncovered the location of the HMS Triumph, a World War II British submarine that disappeared in 1942. Kostas Theodoriou, a renowned Greek diver, and his team located the wreck of the missing submarine around 670 feet down in the Aegean Sea, describing the search as the hardest he's ever undertaken. Yeah, 670 feet down. I mean, it's not exactly that far away, is it? It's not like the Titanic. I mean, that was a hard search, wasn't it? Sinister billboard as wildfire smoke chokes New York City, and it says, "Welcome to hell, New York." And it's the video. Well, it's the billboard for the new Diablo game that's come out recently. Obviously, the 6th of the 6th, 23. And yeah, obviously they didn't know when they built, when they designed the billboard, that it was going to be coming up when the end of the world is actually starting. But yeah, welcome to hell. And as people look up at it, the whole of the sky is orange. I mean, it's good advertising play. If it is them being deliberately doing this, then that's quite impressive. A 6-year-old shoots baby in the face while in bouncy chair. A 6-year-old in Detroit shot their infant brother in the face this week. The baby was jumping in his bouncy seat when he was shot once in the cheek and once in the shoulder by the older child on Wednesday. Detroit Police Department Assistant Chief Charles Fitzgerald told reporters shortly after the incident the infant was in a stable condition and expected to survive. The 6-year-old was handling the unsecured firearm. I dare say that the firearm was legally owned, but there's got to be rules. You can't just have a 6-year-old pick up a loaded gun and then fire it at anything. Never mind their 1-year-old brother. Gas station clerk 23 shot dead after texting pals about safety. A 23-year-old Tennessee woman was shot dead at a convenience store when she worked the midnight shifts, only hours after she expressed safety concerns, and her father and son have been charged with her No, hang on, let's do that again. A 23-year-old Tennessee woman was shot dead at a convenience store where she worked the midnight shift, only hours after she expressed safety concerns, and a father and son have been charged with her murder. Tavia Woodard, a clerk at the Roadrunner Market in Johnson City, texted friends and her co-workers on June the 2nd about a shoplifting incident. She said she wanted to find a new job. Yeah, and well, we don't know if they are the shoplifters, but people getting murdered at work. Oh, it's America, it happens all the time, we don't worry about it. I mean, it's just sickening, it really is sickening what is going on. Peter, whatever you want to call him. I've got other names, but sadly I can't use them on here. PETA president explains why she wants her flesh to be barbecued after she dies. Only after. People at the ethical treatments of animals, PETA, President Ingrid Newkirk said she updated her will to include a request for her flesh to be cooked and for her body parts to be transformed into activist messages post-mortem. I am deathly serious, she said in an interview about her post-mortem plans, which she's put into a will. Yeah, I mean, people like this should not have the voice that they've got at the minute. This is why the country and the world is falling apart, because we're listening to muppets like these people. New York City recorded worst ever air quality on Wednesday, which was a National Clean Air Day in Canada. So, irony. The smokes come from Canada due to the fact that that's where the wildfires are. And in Canada, they've had a National Clean Air Day, while in America and New York, they are suffering from the consequences of the fires in Canada. Prince Harry would be welcomed back into the royal family without Meghan, says a royal expert. I don't know who these royal experts are. Prince Harry would be welcomed back to the royal family, but only without his wife, Meghan Markle, according to a royal expert. Royal commentator Jenny Bond, oh, she's a British, elderly-ish, very late middle-aged, I'll be nice, with blonde hair, very posh, believes that if the Duke of Sussex were ever to return to home soil, his family would take him in despite the ongoing feud within the firm. I think Harry, without Meghan, would be forgiven and welcomed back into the royal fold in the fullness of time. Alright, so she's not saying they're going to forgive him overnight. But as I've said many times before, Meghan Markle is the Yoko Ono of the royal family. Look it up. Anyway, let's go to Australia. Let's go to Australia. What's going on in Australia? Do you come from a land down under? Yes, I do. It's called Australia. A few bits and pieces from Australia. Club uses breast size in marketing campaign. If you've got an A cup, you get 1 free drink. If you've got a B cup, you get 2 free drinks. If you've got a C cup, you get 3 free drinks. And then it says underneath, the bigger the better. I mean, I didn't realise we'd gone back to the 1980s. Mind you, it is Australia. They've not even come back to the 1970s yet, I suppose. A club in Adelaide has now cancelled an event that was offering free drinks based on bra cup sizes, with bigger the better its motto. The campaign sparked mass outrage on social media, and rightly so. I mean, it's absolute nonsense. You might as well do one on blokes' sizes, eh? You know. I mean, how do you prove, for a start, whether you're an A cup, B cup or C cup? I mean, if you take your bra off, or do they measure you? What? It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. And how would you measure? Well, you get a ruler, I suppose, wouldn't you? Like most people do when they're about 14. But anyway, let's move on. Yeah, it's been cancelled. Sad, but true. Australia has already started to test a network of drainage with mesh so that plastics and other pollutants do not reach rivers or the sea. The question is, what do you think? Now, it won't help with sewage, which is the main problem we've got in the UK. But it's certainly a good idea for outlets where maybe the water's coming from somewhere that's quite popular with tourists and that kind of thing. The only thing I fear is, how do you get that off without spilling the contents into the river anyway? Although obviously you're going to have most of it in the netting. But yeah, it seems like a decent idea. RBA increases cash rate by 0.25%, and it now sits at 4.1%. The Reserve Bank, so basically the Bank of England of Australia, has increased the cash rate, interest rate, by 0.25%, hiking it to 4.1%. Alan. So interest rates going up in Australia as well, mate. Australia, mate. Nazi symbol to be banned in Australia under new counter-terrorism laws introduced next week. Displaying or selling Nazi symbols is set to become a criminal offence in Australia, punishable by up to 12 months in prison. So it's not just being part of groups or anything like that. If you display a Nazi emblem, you could be punished by a year in jail. There is no place in Australia for symbols that glorify the horrors of the Holocaust, Attorney General Mark Dreyfus said. He's right. Other swastikas used as religious symbols are not included in the ban, which is good because the swastika was originally a religious symbol. Top 10 highest paying jobs revealed based on taxable income compiled by the Australian Taxation Office. So what is the best job in Australia, mate? Number one is a surgeon. You earn $457,000, and an anaesthetist is $426,000. A financial dealer is only $341,000. Internal medicine specialist, so I assume that's a pharmacist, $334,000. A psychiatrist, a mere $270,000. General medical practitioners, $251,000. So we can see where we've got no one in Britain doing being nurses or anything like that, because they've all gone to Australia to earn these stupid amounts of money. A mining engineer, 196,000. Judge or legal profession, 193,000. A CEO or managing director, 177,000. And a financial investment advisor. Who knew that was that well paid? $169,000 a year. Mind you, they're Australian dollars, so they don't really count. 4 children found alive weeks after a plane crash. This is a good news story. I've covered it over the weeks. 4 indigenous Colombian children have been found alive in the Amazon more than 5 weeks after the plane they were travelling in crashed into the jungle. The children, aged 13, 9, 4 and an 11-month-old baby, managed to survive by building improvised shelters and foraging for fruit. I dare say the 13-year-old looked after the others, because a 9 and a 4-year-old and an 11-month-old baby, very unlikely to be able to do all that. But either way, it's a good news story. It's not often we get them these days. Sadly, everyone else in the plane, including the child's mother, died. The pilot died, and I don't know if the father died as well. 66 Aussie millionaires paid no tax last year, and we think it's a problem in the UK. The AOT has revealed that dozens of wealthy Aussies dodged paying tax last year. Highly skilled accountants save their clients over $400 million in tax. Yeah, that's what you pay them for, I suppose, but it does seem sad that that's the way it goes. So that is the news from Australia. So finally, we go to the stuff that's made me go, or or this week. So we start off with 8 terrifying ancient zombie viruses are spreading thanks to climate change. Some of the world's top scientists have banded together to warn about the impact of climate change is having in releasing dangerous zombie viruses into the modern world. Now, they're not zombies. They don't make you into a zombie. That was the injection for COVID that makes you into a zombie. That's a joke, by the way. It doesn't. But what they're on about is viruses that have been frozen in glaciers, things like that, for hundreds of thousands of years, and may have died out everywhere else. So, well, therefore, we've got no immunity to it whatsoever, are now thawing out and getting into the atmosphere, and possibly other animals, which may then transmit it to humans, which means we then could have a different pandemic of something that's not new, like COVID, but something that's hundreds of thousands of years old that we're no longer able to fend off ourselves. I'm so addicted to tattoos. My face has turned blue, but I won't stop. Now, there's no way of saying this nicely, but that looks horrendous. I mean, it's patchy. There's nothing about that that's even remotely pleasant to look at. So one only assumes that this lady, Melissa Sloan, who was addicted to getting inked, her face has now turned blue like a Smurf. However, that was not totally discouraging, and that has not totally discouraged her from getting 3 tattoos a week. I can only think it's the pain. Looks like you threw that Guinness at him. Her. Yes, it's quite worrying. It's just, I don't know. I always think tattoos, people have chest tattoos when they're 20. Yeah, great, your chest is fantastic when you're 20. But by the time you get to 35, and older, and you generally live up to your 70s, whatever, your chest looks horrendous because everything starts sagging, your skin goes all horrible and everything. And any tattoos you've got just look like they've smudged, but yeah. William and Harry's sweet painting removed from the National Portrait Gallery. Prince William and Prince Harry's portrait, which was painted in 2008, will no longer be displayed in the National Portrait Gallery as the sweet painting is set to be removed from the public eye. Why? I mean, that's a moment of history. The fact they don't get on now, it's like saying, right, every radio station in the land is never going to play an Oasis song ever again because they've fallen out. It's just madness. That's woke, in my opinion. More woke. Mystery of time traveller wearing modern clothes and shades in a 1941 snap. I say 2 words. Bull and shit. I could also chuck in photo and shop, or A and I. Either way, shut up. Hundreds of Brit pubs face last call as landlords demand full rent from COVID. Now this is true. This is ridiculous. Hundreds of pubs across the country could be pulling their final pints after a landlord company offering discounts on rent through COVID is now asking for the full amount to be paid. Now it doesn't state whether it's the full amount that was being paid for the entire time of the COVID, or whether it's the full amount as of now because COVID is over. But the aftermath of COVID isn't over, so landlords are just going to end up with empty pubs and people losing their jobs. It just seems mental. I thought I saw a UFO, but it was Bart Simpson balloon, says ex-NASA astronaut. NASA astronaut Scott Kelly has spent more time in space than most people, but he still managed to confuse a UFO with a balloon of one of the world's most famous cartoon characters. Always letting these people go to space. Antiques Roadshow fans question if Lewis Hamilton's memorabilia is a real antique. Obviously not. Lewis Hamilton is not a real racer either. He just happens to be in the best car at the best time. But yeah, being outperformed by George Russell, who's a kid. Ukraine counteroffensive more violent by the hour as Russia defends fragile what? I don't know. Ukraine. As Russian defences are fragile. Ukraine counteroffensive efforts have been delayed while they wait for tanks and weapons from European countries, but now their military force are ready to launch their long-awaited strike. And fingers crossed it goes well for them. Absolutely 100%. Yabba dabba do and all that. If you're new to the channel, I don't like Lewis Hamilton. I just think he's an arrogant. He's a decent driver, but I just can't stand him as a human being. His attitude and everything, it stinks. Anyway, a non-human spacecraft recovered by US but illegally withheld from Congress. A whistleblower has been backed by other US intelligence officers in sensationally claiming that vehicles of non-human origin have been recovered and illegally withheld from Congress. I'll say hi next time I see you walking down past my house. Okay, Alan. No worries. That'll be tomorrow. I'll be there hopefully tomorrow, walking past. He says optimistically. Crazy Brits' secret Little Italy labyrinth rediscovered and hidden in a garden. Mark Bone and wife Muriel created the site as a shrine to Italian architecture on the outskirts of Corris between Dolgellau and Mechanal in Gwynedd, northwest Wales. Basically, it's very similar to Portmeirion, which, if you ever get to Wales, North Wales, is well worth a visit. It's amazing. Near Stark. Oh right, yeah. I've been there. It was very clean. I've been clean there, me. Nice. Strip club boss calls for sex to become official sport judged on positions. Yeah, that's never going to happen, is it? Yeah, he's here we are then. He's going for the he's going for the doggy. Very good. And the yes, that's. Yeah, imagine the commentators for that. That'd be horrible. Russia's best drone pilots are blown up by their own landmines in latest Ukraine blunder. Now again, as I've said before, when you hear the propaganda, because anything like this is propaganda from Ukraine, then you go along the lines of a pinch of salt. When it's Russia saying it's a truckload of salt, and when China's saying anything, it's a salt mine. Just give you an idea. But never believe everything you hear about wars. But apparently 4 of Vladimir Putin's best drone operators died after driving over their own landmines in what a pro-Kremlin commander in Ukraine has described as a tragic accident. Well, yes, obviously. What else could you describe it as other than a war? Talking of which, artificial intelligence could kill humans in 2 years, government advisor warns. Probably not. Matt Clifford has been tasked with helping Prime Minister Rishi Sunak set up a government artificial intelligence task force, and he has now warned of the horrific dangers it possesses. Yeah, we're not going to be destroyed by Terminators anytime soon. What I would say is that we're less likely to trust anything we hear or see on media of any kind. Lawmakers attempt to legalise deadly force against bears after a cupcake theft. A controversial piece of legislation could see the use of deadly force against bears approved in Connecticut, although it stopped short of calling for a population culling through hunting. So basically, if a bear's coming to nick your cupcake, you can shoot it in the head. But if the bear's just having a wander past and waves at you, you can't shoot it in the head legally. But it's America, they probably would anyway. More nature. Goat pushes tourist 20 metres off a Spanish cliff and leaves her on a perilous ledge. A mountain goat, presumably protecting its young, has attacked a pair of hikers, breaking the wrist of one after hitting her from the side of the mountain and knocking the other one unconscious. But yeah, if you go near animals with babies, they are going to attack. That's what they does. I've shrunk my waist to 11.8 inches. People don't even believe I'm real. I'm sorry, love, they were doing that in the 1600s and it proved fatal many times. So stop it if you want to live. Girl 13 wipes out family's savings by splurging £48,000 on addictive mobile game. In-game purchases aimed at children have been a longer source of media attention and concern for various parts of society, with one case in China representing perhaps the most financially crippling outcome. But yeah, it's nice to see that they've said a girl 13 wipes out her family savings, and they've got a picture of the girl, but then they completely smothered out her face. Yeah. Right, amusing stuff. My wife, why are you pulling over? Me, hand me my phone. My wife, we're on the freeway, motorway. Me, hand me my phone. And then if you look at the dial, can you see what it is yet? Can you see what it is yet? Can you see what it is yet? Can you see? Yeah. Okay, it's 123456 for the miles and 7890 for the trip counter. So yeah, I would do exactly the same thing. I'd be like, no, and if police come and say, look, they'd be like, all right, yeah, no worries, carry on. By the age of 35, you should have a huge box of random cables, because, but you can't throw them out because you're pretty sure you still might need them. Need a couple one day, and yeah, damn right. Where did these cables come from? I mean, not only have I got a lot of cables in the house, and I can see a box from here with loads of cables in it, but I've got one of them bags for life, one of the big ones, full of cables as well, and yeah, it's worrying, isn't it? But you do. We save stuff, even though we've thrown away whatever it connected to. I've got some fantastic engineering things to look at now. Like, for example, the emergency fire escape on this building. Yeah. Would I use this toilet? You know what? If I was desperate, I would, because I wouldn't care. Because I'd be if I need the loo, I need the loo. But I think most people would probably say no. So it's very visual, this bit. I do apologise. Um, Maybe sometimes have an option of having the photograph on a different side and move your wording around on different styles of buses. Hashtag just saying. And meanwhile, 007 not in service. This new Bond film sounds a bit shit. 007 not in service. To be fair, we've had one similar to that, haven't we? Before. Right, back to some random news. A newly discovered 100 million year old dinosaur with beautiful skull is a bombshell find. Now, is that in a bombshell as in, my god, that is so beautiful, that is a bombshell and we found it, so it's a bombshell find? Or is it like, oh my god, this has blown everything we knew about everything away, this is amazing, this has just blown my mind, this is a bombshell moment? We'll never know, because, well, I'm not going to read it. No, I will. A previously unknown species of dinosaur, now named Lanai smithii, has been discovered, and boffins say the bombshell find dramatically alters our understanding of the past, but doesn't tell us why or what. But it's not like I'm not that bothered anyway, I'll be honest. Forecasters pinpoint when UK will hit 30 degrees, but unusually large hail coming. Well, this was obviously a few days ago. We've already hit 29 degrees in Wigan, 30 degrees in other places, and we've had the storms, so they were right. UFO expert not worried about aliens raiding Earth, but concerned over ET life. Dr. Gary Nolan of Stanford University School of Medicine said he believes that aliens are 100% living amongst us, but not in the traditional sense that we think of them wearing a skin suit. What do you mean traditional sense that we think of them wearing a skin suit? I don't think of them even being on the planet, never mind wearing a skin suit. It's not Doctor Who, you know. And then, we were on about the goat before that pushed someone off a hill. I was about a hench sheep. Absolute unit it's described as, and let's be honest, you wouldn't mess with that sheep, would you? That is a proper sheep. Oops. And I think that's your lot for this week. I could show you that, but that would just completely mess up everything. Yeah, thought it would. Oh no, not as bad as I thought. And finally, Games and More has actually got a sign up. I think it's level. Yeah, I think the sign's level. I'm not sure about the sign it's on. But anyway, yeah, we've got a sign in the shop for the shop. Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah! It's a holy day. As opposed to a Holly Willoughby. Sorry, Holly bullshitty. But there we go, bang. So there you go then. That is it for this week. Big shout out to Angela O'Kane. Very quiet on the chat front, but there is a massive football match going on, I get that. There's also barbecues and whatnot to be had, so I get that as well. So a bit of a quiet one this week. But a big shout out to Angela O'Kane, Peter F. And I think someone's either scored a goal or had a goal scored against them. It's just a next door goal, oh, which could mean anything because I know they're not City fans. So anyway, and Alan Barton as well. Thank you very much for joining in the chat. It has been a fun one and a fairly brief one as well. We've only had 31 views, which is down on normal. Average view is 7.14 minutes. We've only had 2 likes, which is also down. So yeah, it's been fun. So thank you very much for watching, if indeed you still are, and all being well, I will see you again next time. Until then.